Hey everybody, how are y'all tonight?
Hi. Hope everyone's doing good. It's been a little while. We're just going to wait and let some other people get on. I don't think it notifies until we go live on the bell. So people that have subscribed and clicked the bell, it lets them know that we're on. So give a few minutes.
Yeah. Somebody was from San Antonio too. So I have already pinned the website and the email address and our mailing address up at the top of the chat. Welcome, Jules. Glad you made it alive.
So let's see. New Braunfels, San Antonio.
Arizona, North Carolina, St. Louis, Missouri, Georgia, Meridian, Texas, Merrill, Wisconsin, Minnesota,
California,
Thank you all for joining tonight.
Minneapolis.
Oh.
Maryland, Bastrop, Texas, or well,
Houston, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, Greenville, South Carolina, Corpus Christi,
New Jersey, Oklahoma,
Bronx, Humboldt, Corsicana, Southern Texas, Temple, Georgia,
Tennessee, Kentucky, Fort Worth, Seabrook, Rosenberg. Well,
Indianapolis, Philadelphia, Sydney, Australia, Horn Lake, Mississippi,
Nevada, Virginia, driving to Utah. Whoa, that's a trip.
Driving from where?
Virginia, driving to Utah.
Oh, yeah, that's okay. Washington State, Massachusetts, West Virginia, Arkansas,
Colorado Springs, Nebraska. Did you say that?
Hawaii? No. North Carolina, Detroit. Looks like we're getting all the states here, guys. And some other countries.
Iowa, LA,
Alameda, California,
Philadelphia,
All right, guys.
Okay, well,
we'll go ahead and get started.
Let's go in prayer, if you'll bow with me. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you in prayer tonight. We thank you so much for this time together. We ask that you would speak to us and through us with what you would have us to share with others and with what you would have us to know, so that we can spread light in this dark world and glorify you in all that we do. We ask that you would just show us the way, show us what you would have each and every one of us to do to wake up our neighbors, our families, our friends, and just to give freedom to all of your people. And we thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Okay, so with that being said, we will get started on, there's no updates, which we weren't expecting to have any, since we had a letter come through and confirmation that it was going to be a couple of months. As most of you know, and anyone on here that doesn't know, we are no longer doing electronic filings. We are only doing hard copy 1099As. Preferably, we're hoping that most people are sending the agreements with their 1099A. If you've already uploaded it, that's fine. We can get it from there. If you haven't sent your packet, though, if you can send all of that together, it makes our life easier to just process it right then. So everything, really, we want a wedding signature on file for everything, because I'm sending in the agreements also with the hard copy A, so that they know that we're in a fiduciary duty as a trustee to that transaction, and not forever, but just specifically for that transaction that you're doing.
So I have pinned the website and the email address and our mailing address up at the top of the chat. If you are new to our channel and to the 1099A process, the website will be a good place to start. There is an ebook in the files that gives you kind of a breakdown on everything that you need to do. And
I also ask, if you haven't already, if you're on here, to subscribe to the channel, not because we want followers, because that is the best way for us to get updates to you and to go live with, any new happenings or anything that we need to get the message out on. So if you subscribe to our channel and hit the bell, it'll notify you. Even if you can't get on to the live, it'll let you know that we did go live, so that you can get the update. Because we've have a lot of people from April and May, it seems, that sent their paperwork but haven't been following the updates. And so it's just very hard for us to get in contact with everybody to let them know they need to send a hard copy. We're just putting the message out so that everyone can get it this way. I also want to say we are not financial advisors. We are not attorneys. We have those people that can help in the background, but we are not those. We don't have licenses to handle any of those.
So we do not give legal advice or financial advice. This video is actually for educational purposes, so make sure you do your own due diligence and do the research and make your own determinations to decide whether or not what we're saying is true or not.
So just a little bit of updates. I know a lot of people want to know if we got their packet in the mail. I can tell you that we have 3 big moving boxes, literally 3 big moving boxes that you would get at U-Haul or somewhere, full of everything that we've received from the post office. And Drew and I are going through all of those and building a spreadsheet so that whenever you do want to know if we have it, we'll be able to have everything into the spreadsheet of what we have, where we are, that kind of thing. When we send your hard copy off, to the processing center. We're going to send you an email, move you to the next step group. Everything stays the same as far as how we're doing it and what we're doing. If you've already had your paperwork processed and sent, we're still going to let you know that we sent the hard copy so that you'll know that that's gone out. But if you haven't received an answer on whether or not we've received your hard copy, we are getting to that. We're working through those boxes to get the spreadsheet updated so we can let you know if you want to know that we received it. But I hope that you're tracking it and that you know on your end already that we've received it.
I mean, a lot of people have sent things just with a stamp or 2 stamps or whatever, but it's actually better to send it priority or certified mail so that you can, there's a tracking on it. Sometimes the post office is not the greatest at actually scanning everything. I've gotten home and had green cards still on envelopes.
But to their defense, they have a lot of mail coming in for us, and it is, I don't go there. Drew goes and picks it up. It's time consuming. It literally takes an hour or 2 hours out of every day for him to go and, mail that they've gotten in that day, they try to rush and get it to us so that it doesn't just pile up. So there's a lot of stuff coming in. So to their defense, they're doing the best they can, but they're also trying to hurry up and get us the stuff because we have an overflow. So
I know I've seen a lot of questions on funds coming in. We've given updates on that. We did receive a letter end of last month, first of this past month, stating that they will be processing and sending funds out within the next couple of months. So could be October, could be November. We don't know what couple of months means with the IRS and the Treasury. So, that's kind of what we're just waiting. So.
And I like to, we had a conversation with Chris Hauser, so I won't take his line away from him, but he told us we've been waiting all of our lives as Christians on Jesus to come back, and now we're waiting on our funds. So if we can't be patient for the money, then, same consequences might apply for being impatient and greedy and that kind of thing. So it was kind of true. I laughed when he said that, so I thought I would share that. That's kind of where we are. So in the meantime, I'm glad we're all awake, even though, being awake makes us very odd. But the Bible says, those who follow him are going to be looked as weird. So here we are. I'm glad that I'm awake. But with that comes a whole lot of, backlash from other people that aren't. So it's good to have groups like us that can, learn amongst each other and continue to educate ourselves and grow while we're waiting on funds to come in, because there's a lot more than just the money. There's freedom to this in just your everyday life by knowing what you know. So while we're waiting on that, I think that we should be focusing on what further education we can do to get to where we need to be. And that's why tonight's live is going to be, there's been a lot of questions about status correction, how that works, what that means. There's a lot of confusion between status correction and secure party creditors, going down that path, which we still are going to offer. We're building that, but right now we have, of course, all of these hard copies have come in, so that's going to still be a couple of weeks away. But I'm going to go over status correction, what that means, what it means if you don't do it, and it has nothing to do with the 1099-A process, because lenders have been doing this behind the scenes and being a middleman between the Treasury and you when you borrow money, making you the debtor, which really in reality you're the creditor. So you haven't had to have your status corrected to borrow money in the past. So doing this doesn't mean that you have to have status corrected, but I'm going to tell you tonight why I think it's important to have it done. And Drew and I do offer that. We charge $200 to do it. I think that that's reasonable given the amount of paperwork that's involved in doing that. And it's your choice. And it has nothing to do with the 1099-A. It has to do with your freedom being on the land and soil out of a different jurisdiction, out of the jurisdiction you've been placed in to the jurisdiction that God wanted you to be in. So we can go over that. And if you have any questions as I talk, you can ask him, because Drew's controlling the mouse and he's reading the chat while I say what I have to say, because I can't do both. So let's go into status correction. What does a status correction mean? Well, first of all, everyone knows when we were born, and we were born, and they came in with the information to fill out for your birth certificate. And I'm going to use myself as a mom. When I birthed my children, they came in and they said on a clipboard, here you go, we need you to fill out this piece of paper so that you can get your birth certificate for your child. They did not say to me, hey, you have the option to sign this birth certificate, meaning that you're going to sign your child over as a slave to the government. And from this point forward, the government owns your child and they're considered dead at sea and they become a slave to the system. Or, they did not say this, or would you like to keep your child on the land and soil common law jurisdiction and not put them into Admiralty Maritime jurisdiction so that they have their God-given rights on the land and soil to go about their life the way that God planned without being enslaved to anyone or any system? Had they offered those two options, there's not a mom that I know that would have said, sure, we'll choose the government way. But we were not given that option, so here we are. And that was where the fraud came in. There is no statute of limitation on fraud. It was not presented to us with a choice. And so they were not fully transparent in the two options that we actually have. And the reason that I corrected my status was for that very reason. We want to be on the land and soil jurisdiction. That's where God wanted us to be. We want to recognize the fraud on paper and not just by mouth, because recognizing it on paper backs up what you know. Basically, you know, they created that birth certificate, they created the bond, they created a social security number, which is your account number. Through that, they created the trust that we're, you know, now being able to access as beneficiaries. You can't access it any other way. You're a beneficiary. You do not own that account. They set it up. You did not set it up. They used your name, copyrighted your all caps name, and made a corporation out of you so that they could take that birth certificate as a bond, sell it on the stock market, put that money into a trust account, and it's been a banking system ever since then. So they also, so that live birth record became a promissory note, and it was sold to the Federal Reserve. And then they, you know, sold it on the stock market. Then they got the money and they created your Cesta KV trust, saying that you will never, ever, ever own anything because you'll never own real property. I'll put it that way. You'll never own a car fully outright. Everyone says, oh yeah, we paid off our car, we own it. No, you don't. If you look at what a title means and you see what the title is, you're a rent. You forever they own it. The Crown owns real property. The Crown owns everything that is a real property transaction. So if you look at a deed when you sign the deed on your mortgage paperwork, it says that you're going to forever be a renter in your home. It says it in the black and white fine print. So, I encourage you to look at that. And then I'm not going to go into what I've learned recently. We'll go into that in a minute. But the status correction is important because really the reason that applies not only for your own freedom to have it, but it places you in common law jurisdiction versus being in maritime jurisdiction where you are automatically placed. And with that said, if you get stopped in a traffic stop or you're in a court case and you have your authenticated birth certificate, you have your status corrected, and you're able to present that and know who you are and know how to stand up to that, then there's power in knowledge. Knowledge is power, power in knowledge, and that's why education is very important. So if someone were to, if a police officer were to stop me for just driving down the road, and I rolled through a stop sign, or I, was 5 miles or 10 miles over the the speed limit, whatever. If I got pulled over, I have my packet of paperwork in my car that shows that I have recognized the fraud. I'm not in your jurisdiction. Under color of law, you have no control over me. Unless there is an injured party and you can produce an injured party, you can't mess with me unless I have stolen, trespassed, done bodily injury, bodily harm, murdered someone, any of that. That automatically, there's, even in common law, if you do any of those things, you're going to face the punishment for that. But if you're driving down the road, you're not doing it in a commercial capacity. So if you're a truck driver and you're working, but you're off the clock, you're not driving a commercial vehicle, you're in your own car doing your own thing, the status correction applies to you at that time. The only time that you're in maritime jurisdiction at that point is if you're in a commercial vehicle driving commercially, then you do fall under maritime. But any other time, that car that you're driving is an extension of your home, and they cannot impede on your right to travel. So having that documentation has proved, there's so many testimonies of how that works. And if you have the authentic birth certificate, on top of that, that's the highest level of authority you can have. So getting your birth certificate sent to the state where you were born and getting it authenticated, all you have to do is look on your Secretary of State website, and it'll tell you how to go about authenticating your birth certificate. It doesn't cost much money. It doesn't take a lot of time. And it's the highest level of authority to say that I am a living woman or man. Because once you sign that birth certificate, or once that birth certificate is signed and you're enslaved, you're considered dead at sea. So the reason you want to do a status correction is to prove that you are living. You are not dead. Until you come back and say, I am living, I am in the common law jurisdiction, and I recognize the fraud. Until then, you stay enslaved, and there's nothing you can do about it because they own you. I recently found out something very disturbing to me as a Christian is very recently. I learned that we have 3 sets of KV trusts set up. We have one set up with our birth certificate. We have one that manages real property. We have one that is a Sesta KV set up by the Roman cult to handle our baptismal registry. Because when a pastor of a church, if they, some small churches don't do this, but some of the bigger organizations do. I can confess to that because my kids were baptized in a large church and we got a certificate. Well, I just recently found out that that's a bond. It's in their all caps name as a bond. Creates a third sesticate. Your baptismal record creates a third sesticate V that now owns your soul. Okay, so you're dead at sea, but then you got baptized. They have a bond because you did, if they send it in, you know. And now they own your soul too. So unless you come back and get your birth certificate authenticated, which is a responsibility that you have, Drew and I do not handle that. That is something you have to do on your own. Go to your Secretary of State website, look up how to do it, mail it in, and they'll mail it back to you. And that says simply that I'm a living person. I'm not dead. And then your status correction says that I am a living woman. I am a living man on the land and soil. I'm putting myself back into common law jurisdiction because what happens in a court case, or what happens if you were to go before the court and you have never ever proven that you're living, they can look at you and laugh, even if you talk the language at some points, because one word can perjure you. And their job is to perjure you, especially if you know who you are and you don't have it on paper. So this is it more applies to those types of situations. If you go to court, or if have a traffic citation, or if you're going through family law stuff, or any of those things, legal stuff is where a status correction benefits you. But at some point, whether we do anything wrong or not, we're all out here getting traffic tickets. At some point, you've gotten a ticket. If you haven't, God bless you. But I have, and he has, and most people have. And at some point, it becomes necessary to have that, you know? And where was I going with this? Because I'm all over the place. Let me explain to you how it works. When you go into a courtroom, because they have your all caps name, you've never said, hey, I'm living. I'm not dead. I proved that I'm not living. The highest authority through the Secretary of State has authenticated my birth certificate saying that I'm a living woman. So you can't mess with me now. Because if you don't have that, you are collateral to them. They have your corporate name. They're ticketing the corporation of you. Okay? Anytime you get a ticket, they're ticketing the all caps name. If you go into court for any court case, they're ticketing the all caps name. They're trying the all caps name. But you're just like the lender. Okay, so let's back up. And this is the best way for me to describe it in elementary terms, since we're all having to go back to school. Your lender says that they're a lien holder on your car. And if you don't pay, we can come and pick it up and take it away from you. Same applies if you go into court and they say, hey, we own him or we own her. And so the body of you becomes collateral to the corporation of you. Okay, so they own you unless you have authenticated your birth certificate and proved that you're a living soul. They own you, and your body is collateral for them. So I highly suggest that you do that because that's how they put people in jail. And then you've heard, most of you on here know Chris Hauser and have followed Chris Hauser, and he talks about habeas corpus. Well, you've got to have an authenticated birth certificate proving that you are a living soul. And if you have someone that is in jail for an unnecessary statute and not an actual crime, okay, that's how they deal with habeas corpus. So you know, anyone that denies an authenticated birth certificate, that can actually be a dishonor that can go to the Supreme Court level, and the judge there's prison time and there's fines and there's all kind of hammers that come down on those judges and those county clerks and those people that are involved in that at the Supreme Court level. So if they're in dishonor of honoring you as a living soul, that is not something they want to do. So am I missing anything? If y'all have any questions, because I know I'm all over the place. I'm not a teacher. I just try to talk from what I know. And last night, I know that the authenticated birth certificate is also considered, because we're talking biblical here, and the Sesta KV, the third Sesta KV that they set up under the Roman cult with your baptismal certificate that owns your soul. Where was I going with that? That disturbed me. But your authenticated birth certificate becomes your ecclesiastical deed poll. That's the official name for it, is an ecclesiastical deed poll. And if a judge denies that and dishonors you with an authenticated birth certificate with no bodily injury, with no trespassing, no stealing, no harming an individual, they don't want to tread on that, okay? That's all I can say. So having your status corrected basically says, I'm a living soul. I am on the land and soil jurisdiction. I fall under common law. I have the right to bear arms per the Second Amendment of the Constitution. We go back to the original Constitution. We don't go back to the amended version. We go back to the original Constitution. So, which is 1767, right? 1760. 76. Sorry. 1776. Okay. I get, because there's a lot of things in the 1770s that happened. Okay. So I can answer questions from here if you want. Basically, your collateral property for them, I wanted to get that out. You know, I still carry a license. I have a real estate license. I don't have a choice. I don't have a choice because and I still carry my driver's license right this minute because, first of all, it's not up for renewal.
Actually, I have to carry. I mean, I went to rent a car the other day, and the only way I could get it was with my driver's license.
You have to have a government-issued ID. So whenever we do a status correction, I have an affidavit of sovereignty that says that the reason that I still carry my licenses is because I don't have a choice. I haven't been given another choice in society. So for society reasons, I still carry it. But I do not wish to contract. I do not contract. I do not consent to anything. And that's part of the paperwork, on top of all of the 18 USC codes and 26 USC codes that put you back into common law jurisdiction. So if y'all want to ask questions, please do. I think that it's important to have it because at some point you might need it. If you have kids, like my kids are in their 20s, I think it's very important for them to have it and to know who they are. If something happens to me, God forbid, I'm going to do my best to share the information I know. What they choose to do with it is on them. But, you know, to me, recognizing the fraud that's been brought upon you on paper and then especially with your authenticated birth certificate, if you don't want to do all the other paperwork, at least do that part. And then the secure party creditor stuff, you're going to basically create bonds on yourself. You're going to, have hold harmless agreements, copyrights, all kind of things. And then you can even go further as to being an executor. So that's more detailed, and that's something that you need to know how to use and how to operate. But the status correction is really used in, recognizing who you are, traffic stuff, court stuff, that kind of thing. But yeah, it was very disturbing to me that a baptismal record creates a bond. That's very disturbing to me. It was very disappointing to read, and it opened my eyes, and maybe it was God speaking to me, but some of these large churches that we know are not for the good necessarily, but for the money, the money gets kicked back on those baptisms. So the fact that some of these, not all, okay, I'm not saying all, but I would say a good majority of them, of the large mega churches, are probably doing it for kickback, and they push baptisms at an early age for a reason. That's my opinion. I'm not calling out any churches. I don't know any specifically. That opened my eyes to a lot of things that I could see possibilities of why they push so hard. So the passport stuff, I can tell you, as part of the secured party creditor stuff, when you do a status correction, we don't get the passport for you. That all comes with going a little bit further and a little bit deeper into, bonds, creating bonds on yourself, setting up, security agreements and hold harmless agreements and those types of things, which we know how to do and we know what to do and all of that, which is why we're going to offer it. But status correction comes before. You have to have status correction paperwork in place to go that route. I have some people that have their secure party creditor stuff, but they've never done the status correction. In my opinion, the status correction should come first, and then there's an order in which you file things to be a secure party creditor. So recognizing the fraud that was placed against you on paper first, putting that into public record on your status correction, and then moving into the SPC stuff is what I highly recommend. If you do things out of order, at some point, you might run into a situation where you did something out of order, and the bar and the crown have a way of backing that up and saying that you did it at the wrong time, and now it's null and void. So it's important to do it in steps, the right steps. So
I've seen people ask, actually, my birth certificate is a certificate of live birth. Tara's is actually a birth certificate. I went on ahead and authenticated mine. So
you want the authentication because it comes with a seal and it comes with a certification on top stating that you are living and it came from the highest power, which when you really read into this SDKV trust and how that all works and how that all played out, unless you have that from the Secretary of State, you don't have a higher power saying that you're living. So just because it says that it's a certificate of live birth, without it being authenticated, you're still dead at sea because you have a social security number. So it's important to have that because it doesn't hold any weight unless a higher authority has signed off on it.
Every state's different. What office specifically at the Secretary of State do we need to go to authenticate birth certificate? Every state's different.
But so you should be able to Google it in and say, authenticate your birth certificate or get an apostille.
I mean, I just went in Texas. I went to the Secretary of State website, and it had a place on there to authenticate, certify or apostille your birth certificate. So you'll need to look at your Secretary of State's website to see where it needs to be sent. There was a form that I had to print out for us to do it. That was both Texas for her and Alabama for me. So Alabama took about 2 weeks, or actually a little less than 2 weeks. Texas took about 6. So
Unless you want to drive to Austin and wait in line, which I didn't want to do that, but I wasn't in a hurry for it either. I just wanted to have it done. So there's people saying, where do we find the protocol for changing status birth certificate? You can, like, if you want to change your status with us, that's not what this was about. This was, I just want to be clear. I'm not trying to make money or do anything. Like, I don't want it to look in the wrong light. That I wanted to answer some questions that a lot of people have had and didn't understand. And there are some people that have their stuff, they have their status corrected already, but they don't know how to use the paperwork. So if you want to get your status changed with us, you would send us an email at jarrettrealtyinvestors@gmail.com and put status correction in the subject line, just status correction. And I'll go through and I'll drop what you need to know and the form that we have to have filled out in order to move forward.
So, there's been a couple of people. So sovereign citizen, yes, that is not the right terminology to be using. You're either sovereign or you're a sojourn upon the land. Also, when we do stuff, we are nationals. We are not state citizens, because as a national, I can still work as a real estate agent, a notary. I see the question here, can I be a notary public and change my status? Absolutely. Yes, because as a national, you're working in both the public and the private. As a citizen, you're going into and actually, citizen is still, you're a subject to the state. Nobody wants to be a subject to anything. You want to be your own free living woman, man upon the land. So you don't want to be a state citizen, or you can be an American national, but you don't want to be a state citizen. And that, I did see a question. Somebody had said that they went to get the passport. It was denied because they had their status correction because they have a state citizen. That might be. That might have been why it was denied. Also, maybe because child support wasn't paid. You could go in and use the 1099-A with them and pay the child support. If you have the authenticated birth certificate, once you've exhausted all of that with the dishonor on the 1099-A, or your accept for value or whatever you're doing to discharge that debt or that child support, then you could go in with the birth certificate, present your paperwork. So
yeah, when you file a UCC1, which you don't want to do until you're in the right step to do that. But the reason for filing a UCC1 is that you're putting a lien on your body, just like they claim. I use that very seriously. They claim to be your lien holder. You're going to put an actual lien on your body so that you're no longer their collateral to just do whatever they want to with you.
Do we have to record each of the status correction docs separately? You're going to send that in to the county or a county that will record them with a land recorder and have them recorded. You'll actually take them in as a packet so that they can record a number on each one of the documents.
And put it in public record. So if you're federal and you want to correct your status, if you work in the federal system, there is a deed of reconveyance that's specifically for federal employees, so you can still do it. You're still subject to taxes if you get paid under the federal government, but you are not subject to taxation in any other capacity.
I have my status corrected through AVR. Process doesn't do the authenticated birth certificate. If you read through all of her stuff, she does talk about authenticating the birth certificate. She doesn't tell you that, they don't do that in the packet or in the paperwork, but she has a lot of articles on authenticating your birth certificate.
And there's a lot of information about it, but it's not something hard. You send it in to the Secretary of State, or look on your state and see where to send it in. You do that. No one else is going to do that for you. That's something that you have to do on your own. And it's just a matter of filling out a form that's very simple and sending it in to whatever state you were born in.
I do have a form for that.
Yeah, we have a form. What's a way to cancel my contract dealing with marriage license? We have
there is a form that
if you want to do that, we have a form that basically expatriates that from and I forgot the name of the form. I went blank.
Puts you into a lawful marriage situation. So.
And that marriage license is a bond, so hang on to it. If we ever see this era happen, you might be able to cash that in. Because it's an EE bond. EE bonds are, you can cash in an EE bond. We can't necessarily right this minute, but if NESARA hits, we're supposed to be able to do that. You don't need it. So do we really need a driver's license? Under common law, you don't have to have a license to do anything. You don't have to have a license to drive, and you do not have to have a license to do a trade. If you have the knowledge and you've done all of your homework, some of us have more knowledge than some of the people with a license. So under common law, you don't have to, that's a money-making scheme is what that is. Under common law, you can do a trade. Back in the early 1900s, even late 1800s, right? You could do a trade.
Yeah.
Until 1933, when they changed everything and started making you have a birth certificate and a license and all the things.
So hold on, there was something. I don't know where
I'm not a 14th Amendment citizen. I'm not a U.S. citizen, but I am a state citizen, and they denied me because of child support.
That's the one that I was talking about.
Yeah.
And honestly, what she had read and was researching and looking at stuff about, judges are actually out to deny you your actual rights in this situation.
Let me explain that real fast. Another thing that I learned. If you're in the court system and you go in and you never go in and say, I'm sovereign, never. That word by definition does not mean what you think it does. So do not say that you're sovereign. Go in there and, if you go in there and state you're the beneficiary, you don't consent, you don't understand, do all those things. If they get irritated with you, which they will, because this is what they're paid to do. If they get irritated with you, they could literally go into their chamber. They could then bring out a different judge who now puts you under admiralty law or a different whatever. Okay, if they bring out a judge under admiralty law, and now you have a different judge sitting up there, you become now a thing. Okay, and if you don't recognize that you're a thing when they call you a thing, you can perjure yourself that way. And then if that doesn't work out for them and you recognize that they're calling you a thing and they're actually referring to you that way, and they get frustrated with that, they can still go back into their chamber and get a third judge to come out and put you into another jurisdiction, which is actually, it's like the Roman cult type thing. I forgot the name of the jurisdiction that it's in, but it's the highest level that you basically are doing wrong to an Israelite, and that is a death penalty for you. So they can go to that extreme. I mean, that is what they're taught to do, and that's what they're paid to do, is to, okay, let's turn it over and turn it over and turn it over and get them, because it's a money-making thing. The minute they get you in the jail cell and your body is collateral for them, they create a bond on you, and it's a money-making scheme.
So I've seen a couple of questions about living out of the country, or I was born outside the country. How do I authenticate my birth certificate? If you have a copy of your birth certificate, some people don't have the original. You can actually, we've talked to a couple of individuals that are from outside the country that have done a lot of this stuff, and they actually have taken their birth certificate in and gotten it certified, stating that this is a certified copy of my birth certificate.
Or the naturalization.
And
if you have the naturalization paperwork, I have some people that have gotten their naturalization paperwork certified by notary.
So, and that's worked for them.
Is a confirmation of birth legit to use? If it's not by a higher authority, it's not going to work. So when they created this, okay, where did the CUSIP numbers fit into all of this? I looked mine up, and I have 7 of them worth $198 million. When they create a bond on your birth certificate, the promissory note / bond has a CUSIP number. The Social Security card has a CUSIP number. So when they create a bond, on a lot of these documents, they create a CUSIP. That's their internal, basically, number that attaches you to the social, the account number.
Your original jurisdiction should hold no matter how many judges are brought forth. Not according to this research.
Your original jurisdiction should hold no matter how many judges are brought forth. If you took your jurisdiction and said all rights reserved without prejudice, nope, it doesn't always. It should. Yeah, I agree with you that it should, but it depends on what they're there for. And it depends on the judge, and it depends on if they can get you to perjure yourself, which is why everyone says don't go into their courtroom. One word can perjure someone, even if you state those facts.
You always want to try to deal with everything outside of the courtroom through paperwork.
You want to use your color of law and your jurisdiction to not have to go at all. Tina, I'm looking at your message. Have you presented? I would have to know what you've done so far. So I can get with you on that and see what you've done so far, see if I can help you. If not, I have some people that might can. Yeah, this Michael Davis, I see your question. I was a state citizen according to Anna being a part of the Texas Assembly. That's so under the Assembly with Anna, if you do not hold a license in anything, like a professional license, then you can fall under, then they put you as a state citizen under that assembly, because we were a part of that assembly. We are no longer a part of that same assembly, but we are in an assembly, but not associated with that one. But yeah, you don't want to be a citizen of anything. You don't want to stand under anyone.
So right here, the naturalization documents must be authenticated and notarized in the immigration, not just the notary. This individual got their paperwork done that way. So if you have your naturalization documents, you would have to take it and get it done in immigration.
So age of majority is 18 years old. At 18 years old, you become an adult, and at that time you can do your status correction. At that same time is the only time that you can go. At age 18 and age 65 are the only two times that you can go in and find out what your SESTA KV on ledger, off ledger balance is. So 18 is the age of majority. Any child that falls under 18 years old, the parent can do a baby deed and claim them back to the land and soil jurisdiction. But I would say that I would have them further that when they turn 18 years old and get their status corrected to make sure that the baby deed, that they have more than just a baby deed. Because the baby deed is going to work when they're minors, and that's all you need. But after they turn 18, you want them to expatriate their names and take all of their assumed names back so that they are copyrighted under common law. Someone said, hey, Terry, did you get your letter back from the credit bureau that you were talking about last video about fixing? So I have a list, a long list of people on here that want to go in with me and help fight the bureaus. So I tried something to see if it was going to work before I brought everyone else in on it, because I wanted to see if it was going to work for me first and then present it to the whole group on what we need to do. I did get something today from Experience. Well, I haven't gotten anything yet. I gave them time to get back to me, you're supposed to give reasonable time. So I haven't quite met the reasonable time frame that I gave them, but I did get a notification today that Experian has recognized my personal dispute. Okay. So I disputed everything because they're reporting on everything that has to do with me. So I don't know. I haven't followed up to see exactly what that means, but I did get something today from Experian saying that my personal dispute has been recognized. I'll let you know as soon as I know if that worked or not. And if it didn't, I have other options to pursue. So who would I ask about the value of my on ledger, off ledger trust? Don't go to the county level. Okay. The county level doesn't have a clue what you're talking about. You're going to have to go real high up in the state level to get to a really higher like general of the state. Because they're going to give you your on ledger all day long, because that's the Social Security amount that you've put in since you started working. The off ledger is what they've put in. So to get that information, you have to go really high up because the counties don't have a clue. Let's see. Are we at the bottom? I'm so confused.
It was.
Do we have?
Do name changes as well? No.
No, we don't do name changes. I don't know why anyone wants to change their name. I know people have said that you can do that to start over and all this, but I would not do that.
I'll go ahead and answer this question because it keeps popping up. If you e-filed, yes, you have to send in a hard copy to pay off your debt. I would send it. If it's just going to a company and you e-filed and it's just going to the company, yes, I would definitely go ahead and send in a hard copy with my wet ink signature to monetize it.
You're going to use the same account number that you electronically. If you electronically filed, you're going to use the same account number and the same information that you put on the other one so that it matches up as a corrected, and you're going to mark corrected at the top. The ebook is, someone says, does the ebook shows how to discharge debt. Go look at that, and it's the same. It doesn't matter who you're discharging it with. It's the same method applies. Let's see. I don't know what that means. Can you use the bank as the fiduciary trustee? I don't know what that means. I mean, if you have a loan, they're already if you have transactions with the bank, they're already in a fiduciary duty. Yeah, W4 sandwich. Someone says, have you tried that? Yeah, it works. It's called certified. Okay. Yeah. So being confused on birth certificate, is it called certified copy or authenticated copy? You got a certified too.
Mine. So the authentication is either a certified or apostle. So that's when you look it up. Like when I did it with Texas, that's the two options I had. So I asked for a certified, waiting for it to come back from the federal level now. And once it comes back from there, then I will be sending it to a non-Hague country to get it further certified on the international level.
Let's see if you answer this. Do we have to change our status before we can access our trust using? No, you do not have to change your status to access the trust. Is it beneficial? Probably yes, but you don't have to. I mean, you have never had to change your status to get a loan, and it comes from the same place. We just aren't told that.
So somebody had said that citizen was not subject to. So here's Black's Law Dictionary, 4th edition, citizen, a member of a free city or jural society, possessing all the rights and privileges which can be enjoyed by any person under its constitution and government, and subject to the corresponding duties. So you are subject to. Citizens are members of community inspired to common goal who in associated relations submit themselves to rules of conduct for the promotion of general welfare and conservation of individual as well as collective rights. So if you're a citizen, you're actually submitting yourselves to their rules, to their statutes, to their laws. If you are a sojourner upon the land or a national, then you are free to move about. God is the only laws that you follow.
And under common law is God's law.
So yes, citizen means subject to.
Guys, We have further confirmation from some things from the Treasury. Be careful who you're using as a trustee. Not everybody's going to work out. Yeah, that's all I'm going to say. Let's see. Yeah, Black's Law Dictionary. You don't want to go anything above the 5th edition. They started writing it 4th and 5th edition. That's anything newer than that is they've taken some stuff out and did it their way. It's just kind of like the Bible. There's a lot of things in the Bible that words that have been taken out that in the Geneva Bible they were different. King James Bible, completely different.
Yeah, Amazon has Black's Law Dictionary.
It's not.
I actually ordered it, and it was the 11th edition, pocket edition. When I looked at it, and you go into the actual 4th edition, the words are completely different. They mean totally different things.
What was I going to say? Yeah, King James.
Yes, so yes, I did select a non-Hague country for my state authentication. So it asks on there what country. Look for non-Hague countries, countries that we like to go to war with: Afghanistan, Iraq, Egypt. So yeah, Bob Johnson, that's right. Older versions of Black's Law applies to constitutional law.
Mm-hmm.
The newer versions are toward policy and statutes.
As is the King James Bible. King James is buried between his two men lovers. So there's a lot of language that's way different from the Geneva and the Torah to the King James.
Oh, well, that's cool. You got a used one for $40. I mean, when I looked, I was not paying the prices they were wanting for it. So, I have seen some people ask, how long does it take if you're using us to do status correction? Right now, it's about 15 business days, about 3 weeks. We are catching up on the ones that were kind of behind.
Yeah, we got it delayed a bit when my daughter had her baby, so we're getting that threw us behind a little bit.
And June and July kind of slowed us down a little bit. So
let's see. So I do want to say if anyone is interested, and I know there's a lot of people that have shown interest in precious metals and a lot of people that have shown interest in Operation Improve Health. We are getting back to y'all, I promise. We've done a few Zooms on the precious metals. We have some videos from those Zooms that I can drop to you. We're going to set up some more Zoom calls live that you can be a part of too. With the stock market, the way that it's falling, and inflation, the way that it is, and knowing everything that we know.
An executive order 14067
that just passed or whatever is coming into play. The precious metals company that we use has some really good things. They have, you can roll your 401k into some precious metals backed for IRA or 401k. You know, as we know, that's real money. So if you want to, I know a lot of my friends have lost money in the stock with their 401ks. They've lost a lot of money. So if you're interested in finding a place that's, you know, backed by real money for your 401k, they have that option with the company that we work with. They also have a lot of other things, but it's a really good system. So if you're interested in investing in precious metals, or you're interested in thinking about where to put my money in my 401k or my IRA or something like that, there's a place for you to roll it over to that's backed by real money. If you're interested, you can always reach out to us on the on our website. And you can select, there's a drop down you can select precious metals or whatever you're interested in, and then we'll let you know when the next Zoom is coming, or we can send you the video from the Zooms that we've done.
So,
and again, if y'all are on our Telegram page or any of our Telegram pages, you might have watched the MMS video. I put it up. I pinned it into all of the rooms. I highly suggest that y'all, even if you're not interested in MMS, I highly suggest you go and watch that video. Very eye-opening video. And if you're interested in MMS, reach out to us. And just look at the pinned message. If you're not in our Telegram and you want information on it, let me know. Just send an email with MMS in the subject line, and I'll get you the information.
They lose their VA service connected disability if they corrected their status.
Not no, you won't. There's a couple of will I lose my VA service connected disability? And no, there's one for service people that I can provide you. If you're federal, or you're getting paid federal, or if you're ex-military, then there's a certain form that I have to fill out. And there's a couple of forms I won't give you because it could affect that, but the ones I can provide won't. So it's not here to harm you. It's here to help you. All of that VA benefit is coming from the trust, from your trust, getting paid to you and whatever they feel fit to pay you. Let's see. Can I scroll down here?
Yeah. Or in status.
All right, we're going to wrap it up soon, and if you're dealing with child support and stuff like that, we have a Telegram group for child support. We have a Telegram group for notary. We have a Telegram group for realtors. We have one we're about to create one for medical, of any doctor that's in here that wants to talk with other professionals in their industry. We're creating that. I've had a few requests for that. So you can get connected with other doctors that are awake to all of the things that are going on. Yeah. How do I get
on here? I'll put it in. I'm going to drop the Telegram link in. Unless there's an admin that can do it.
I don't know if there's.
I'm going to drop it in.
There's a contact form on our website at jarrettrealtyinvestors.com, and there's a drop down that you can select precious metals, and then that will automatically send it over to let us know that you're interested in that, and we can send you the link to the Zoom so you can get more understanding of it. And then go from there. Let's see. I heard myself in the background. That was weird.
All right. I just dropped the Telegram link into the chat. It's good for 24 hours. So by 8:20 tomorrow night, it will expire. So if anybody on here is not in the Telegram chat, there it is. It's in the chat.
Let's see. Do I need to authenticate my kid's birth certificate? I would. Yes, I would. How do I file a baby deed? That if you have a child under the age of 18 and you're sending it to us to do the status correction, we throw that in when you put your child under 18, their information into the form.
And guys, on the Operation Improve Health, there's several people that every day I get an email wanting information on something from the same individual. We're working to get through it. Some of the things, you know, we'll have to do one-on-one calls with. Some of the things we can do Zoom calls with. Some of them. So, you know, we will get to you on there. It's just, you know, it's a lot working through that and doing everything else we're doing.
But the only reason we're giving you those options is because it aligns with the message that we are putting out and what we believe, our values, you know, our moral and ethical values. And it's to help you. We don't want to keep anything that we know about that could help people, you know. So that's why we're doing it. And so it's put a little bit more on our plate than what we can really handle, if we're being honest, but it's going to help people. So that's why we have aligned ourselves with those companies, and we have people that will help us with those companies that we're talking about. We have people that will help us to get you the information too, if we can't get to you.
Yeah, two common law witness autographs will actually override a notary. You can do that as well if you're when you're doing documents.
And a thumbprint does too.
So
because that's your a red thumbprint shows you as a living person. So
the Telegram link is invalid. It did this to me the other day, guys. I don't know why it keeps.
Just go do
I just did it.
A new one?
Mm-hmm. And I just put a new one in there.
Oh no, we don't want to do that.
All right. You could also go to the public channel, and there's a way to get in. I don't know how to do that though. Sorry, I'm not very good with Telegram. I'm going to create another one and see if I can drop it in. See if that will work. Because I don't know why it says it's invalid.
They got in.
They got in?
The link
okay,
worked.
Make sure you click on the link. You got to click that link.
It's working.
Okay, well, I dropped another one in here too, so.
Okay.
All right.
So, let's see, Social Security. Do you have a protocol to force Social Security to increase Social Security? No.
What, to increase the amount?
I wish you can file the you can file the 1099-A to get your property, you know, to acquire real property.
I have heard Hauser state you can go in there and tell them it's in the best interest that they increase it.
Because they're supposed to do what's in the best
interest of the beneficiary.
Interest of the beneficiary and inflation the way that it is.
So you can go in and demand, or in a nice way, that they increase your benefits because it is in the best interest of the beneficiary. So no.
I do have someone that is now able to handle trust questions. So we're gonna do some Zoom calls for people that want to find out how to get their trust set up. There's just too much on my plate to train on that right now. So I have someone that sets up private trust and is willing to do Zooms with whoever's interested. But I can tell you right now, it comes with a price tag, okay? It comes with a price tag. So if you can't afford it right now, you might want to wait until the funds come in and use that as part of, you know, whatever you have requested, because it'll be worth it to have that rolled into your assets rolled into a trust when the funds come and you get your property. But that's someone that I know that can help you with that. And I can, he's willing to do a Zoom call and set that up too. So.
All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and close out tonight.
Thanks for joining, and let's close in prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you so much for this time together. We ask that you would just be with us as we go about the rest of our week. Help us to shine a light again in this dark world, and through the times that we're living in. We know that you have a plan, and we know at the end that you win, whether it be, you know, us here having freedom or us just being a resource for you. We know where our true eternal place is, and we just ask that you would use us as vessels and guide us in the direction you would have us to go. In Jesus' name. Thank y'all for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Y'all have a good night.